Daily Tech News Show is made possible by you, the listener. Thanks to all of you, including Reed Fischler, Larry Bailey, Michelle Sergiu, and a brand new patron, Sherry.
Hey,
Long-time listener, Sherry. Good to have you. On this episode of DTNS, we debunk a report that it'll cost you $1,700 to watch the NFL this season, but we do think TV has gotten too complicated. Plus, fun form factors from IFA, and Patrick Norton explains the Sonos mess and if there are any alternatives. This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, September 6th, 2024. In Los Angeles, I'm Tom Merritt.
From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From somewhere in St. Louis, I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm the show's producer, Amos.
Oh, Patrick, I'm so sad about Ted Drews Jr. Did you ever get to make it to a Drews custard recently?
My youngest is obsessed with Ted Drews. I am afraid to actually look. I assume the organization is still operating. But I'm afraid
it's still rolling along for now. So, yeah. And he was junior. He wasn't even the founder. So I'm sure they'll be fine.
He ran it for decades.
Forever,
and it's interesting. Like many cities and small towns, there are businesses that become a part of your life and they run forever. You expect they're going to run forever. And sometimes they don't. In this case, it is. And just, if there's a place you love, go there. This weekend.
Just in case.
Because in 4 years, you're going to be like, I should have gone before they closed. Yeah. Maybe if you go, they won't close. And it'll be something you can share with or enjoy or do in the future.
Anyway, fellow St. Louisans, where did you go to high school? The rest of you, let's start with the quick hits.
Apple's next announcement comes Monday, September 9th. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman is one of the best in-the-know leakers, and he says we should expect 4 new iPhone 16 models, 2 new AirPods models, a thinner Apple Watch Series 10, and more about Apple Intelligence. Join us in our Discord as we're taking notes and sharing our instant reactions live on Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Also on Apple News, the company approved an update to WeChat in China. WeChat is the super app used for everything from paying in stores to ordering online to booking hotels, rides, shopping, kind of does it all. Apple has been holding up an update where it worked with Tencent to negotiate an agreement over how much of a cut that Apple should get from these in-game payments in WeChat's minigames.
Telegram co-founder and CEO Pavel Durov made his first public comments since he was detained in France 2 weeks ago. Writing on Telegram, Durov said the arrest was misguided and suggested the French authorities should have approached the company with their complaints rather than arresting him. I think France probably says they did, but he also said he promised to moderate more content on the platform. Durov is free right now on 5 million euros bail, but he has to report into a French police station twice a week until his trial. The charges, if you don't recall, include complicity to spread pornographic images of minors, among others. In related news, Telegram has removed text from its FAQ that said it did not process requests related to private chats. Telegram says it hasn't changed anything. It's just clarifying the FAQ so that you realize you can report incoming chats to moderators by using the block and report feature. Telegram also removed the people nearby feature because they said it had issues with bots and scammers. They replaced that one with businesses nearby. And Telegram disabled new media uploads for the Telegraph blogging tool.
Reuters sources say that Qualcomm's considering buying the part of Intel's design business focused on PC clients. Intel's PC division has been in decline, and Intel is looking to cut costs. An Intel spokesperson told Reuters it has not been approached with a formal deal by Qualcomm, however.
Ars Technica updated its System Builder guide and noted that while it doesn't find new CPUs and GPUs to be a big upgrade this round, most of its builds are now cheaper than the last time they updated the guide because of the falling prices of the chips. The guide recommends maximum price for performance builds for a budget Office desktop, a budget 1080p gaming PC, a mainstream 1440p to 4K gaming PC, and a price-conscious workstation. They're holding off on doing the God build, that's the money no object build, until Intel's Arrow Lake, AMD's Ryzen 9000X 3D, and whatever comes next from NVIDIA is released.
In an interview with CNBC, Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon shared more about the company's mixed reality project with Samsung and Google. The project will reportedly involve smart glasses that can work as a companion device for smartphones. Amon praised the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which use the Snapdragon AR1 Gen 1 chip, and says this new project would combine local AI processing with cloud capabilities.
Did you all happen to see this headline that watching the NFL this season is going to cost you at least $1,700 and up to $2,500?
Yeah, and I said, okay, I guess I can't watch it then.
Yeah, me too. That's what I would have thought. MarketWatch did some calculating behind this story that I find less than illuminating. It's not that anything they said was wrong. I just think it doesn't give you a fair picture. They said it'll cost you $1,758 if you want to watch every NFL game in the U.S. live. If you use traditional cable, that number goes up to $2,494. So let's take a look at these and remember, if you're keeping a service after the NFL season is over, you're likely using it for more than just watching the NFL. So the way MarketWatch counted an entire year's worth of subscription as part of this, I find to be less.
Just football.
Yeah. If we're just like the cost of football, then let's just say, okay, only for those 4 months. Exactly. It also appears they counted paying for a service to get broadcast channels and ESPN separate from getting NFL Sunday Ticket. The total of both of those combined came to $1,295. So that's almost the entire bill right there. But you can get YouTube TV and NFL Sunday Ticket combined for $635.96 for the 4 months of the football season. So that seems a lot cheaper, again, if we're limiting it to the football season. And you might say, well, I can get CBS, ABC, and Fox over the air for free and then pay $479 just for Sunday Ticket. That would leave you without ESPN. You could get ESPN through Sling's Orange plan for $40 a month. So that'd be $160 over the course of the season. That ends up being $4 more than just buying YouTube TV and Sunday Ticket together.
Well, and a lot of the stuff, okay, so I'm a 49er fan. So all 49er games, if I'm around, I mean, I'm not that big of a football fan, but if I'm around, that's what I'm doing on a Sunday kind of thing. I know where to find the game type thing. So yeah, so the whole like buy every single NFL game for the entire season makes no sense to me because some of them are happening at the same time anyway. I'm just not that big of a fan.
Right.
So
right.
Those people are kind of in one category. And then you have people like me who are like, yeah, but like if your team's really good, then they're going to be on the network games anyway. And
if you're in market,
you have a different, right. Yeah. You have a different experience depending on where you are and who you're rooting for.
Yeah. Well, but let's continue down the road of those of you who are like, no, I must have access to every single live NFL game all season long. We get you YouTube TV and NFL Sunday Ticket for $635.96. That leaves, in the MarketWatch estimate, $463 left to pay to get the rest of the games that aren't available on those two services. That's Amazon Prime Video, Peacock, ESPN Plus, and Netflix. MarketWatch also included paying $50 for the entire year of NFL Plus to get the preseason games, which all happen in a month. So maybe not everybody needs to see all the preseason games, but let's hold that aside for the moment. Peacock is $8 a month and only has the Brazil game this weekend and a playoff game at the end of the year. So you're only going to need it for 2 games. That's $16. You subscribe right now, you watch this weekend's game, you unsubscribe. You come back at the end of the year for the playoffs, you get paid the $8, you unsubscribe. So that's $16, not $80. That makes sense, right?
It makes sense, although Peacock would love you to not unsubscribe afterwards.
But
so,
you don't have to,
and it's
easy to.
There may be some, bait and switching stuff going on.
There's not, though. I've actually done it. It's actually very little bait and switch. You go in, you unsubscribe. Netflix starts at $7 a month. They only have Christmas games. So you're only going to need it for a month. That's $7. If you have Netflix anyway, that's a different situation. But if you're only wanting to get the games, that's $7. ESPN Plus is $11 a month. That's a little pricey, but it only has one game in week 7. So you don't need to pay $110 for all year. You just need to pay for that for 1 month. Amazon Prime Video is available on its own for $15 a month. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, you're going to pay $60 if you want to see the Thursday night football games. But if you already have Amazon Prime shipping, that's $139 a year. MarketWatch isn't wrong about that, but you probably were paying that anyway, right? If you just wanted the free shipping. So, okay, let's pretend you don't want the free shipping. You're just paying just to get the games. It's $94 for the rest of these, not $463. So if you want every regular season game, by my calculations, that would be $729.96. That's not with the preseason games. So if you want those preseason games through NFL Plus, which, I mean, they're already over, but just for the sake of completion, you'd pay $7 for 1 month of NFL Plus. So that brings it to $736.96. But honestly, a lot of the preseason is already going to be on broadcast or other channels. People may not be as excited to have every preseason game as they are the rest of the thing, but I don't know. I also think a lot of people already have Amazon Prime. So it's not an extra cost, right? Because they have it for the shipping or something else. A lot of people already have Netflix. That's not an extra cost. You can't count that if you'd have it anyway. Peacock and ESPN Plus probably less likely for a lot of people to have, but they're either really cheap to add, $8 and $11 just for the one game, or you just go to a bar for that game if you really have to see it. $479 is close to the max most people have to pay if they need everything. I will say, though, it was pretty complicated to track all this down. And it would be pretty
complicated just to hear this
right?
just now. And I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, if you want to watch a variety of games on a variety of, when I say networks, I'm using the biggest air quotes ever, because it's like, what's a network anymore? You have to hunt it down. And, people who care
all
about
you
sports
have to
are
do
gonna
is
figure it out, but
yeah,
right.
Patrick, your eyes are watering.
I had my mic muted so you didn't hear my gigantic laughter when you were talking about the effort to take this down. I am honestly the person that's really irritated by the band of live sports I don't want to watch on every single streaming platform right now. I have not been a sports ball guy for a while. Sarah, I am shocked and hurt that you actually refer to that team from Santa Clara as the glorious team from San Francisco. That aside,
about?
The Santa Clara 49ers.
Niner Nation. Come on now. Who's better than us?
They're dead to me. They're dead to me. They moved to Santa Clara. They're dead to me. That said, it is a freaking nightmare as a sports fan. And, I've been in situations where I wanted to watch a game and I realized that the financial obligation, it was like, you know what? I'm taking the kids to the bar. There's a bar. They got a big screen.
AC's better there anyway.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be Shirley Temples for everybody. Don't, by the way, call Child Protective Services. I'm not dragging kids
I'm
to
just
the bar.
trying to avoid having to navigate the complicated situation of streaming these days.
It's one of those situations where, hey, you know what? Our fans are so dedicated. We can maximize revenue at their expense. And you know what? They'll do it or they won't. I don't know if it's really like an evil plan of the NFL here. This is just how streaming is going overall. Okay, it
is a little bit of
go down that rat hole.
It was a little bit of careful what you wish for.
Amazon getting Thursday Night Football is not Amazon being like, let's take it all down. They're like, well, let's get a piece of this.
Yeah, and it's careful what you wish for. For decades, many of us have been saying, I just want to pay for the channels I want. This is what that looks like. Unfortunately, you have to manage it.
I mean, this is also to kind of swing back to something they said a couple minutes ago. This is kind of what's happening with all of the streaming services are a mess right now, right? Like I'm laughing because, I decided to get, the Hulu Disney Plus package, but now all the Hulu content is on Disney Plus and makes it harder to find the stuff I actually want to watch on Disney Plus. And it's the level of irritation, the live sports integration. Like I get that every streaming service is turning back into a major network from like 1986. Not super thrilled about that. But I think as somebody who's had people, if you're an Oakland fan and you have to pay to watch a game, when you're already paying for MLB, I get why they do blackouts, but I don't know. I just find it really frustrating when they make it really difficult to watch all of your team's games.
Yeah. We've brought down the cost. That was clear from this too. If you have cable, it's even more expensive according to MarketWatch. And we gave you more control over channels and services. It's just now we have to make it less complicated. I think that's the next thing. Let's move on to new form factors coming out of IFA this week. Sarah, what do we got?
Indeed. And this was IFA and a variety of other places. We just got a lot of good form factor stuff, depending on what form factor you're looking for. LG showed off a new stretchable display, in fact, a variety of them, during Seoul Fashion Week in South Korea, for designed for things that you would already be wearing, something that would go on a shirt or even a clutch bag that you might be carrying with you. The micro LED displays are built on silicone material, so similar to a contact lens, so they're very thin, very light, and can be stretched from 12 to 14 inches.
Honor launched its foldable Magic V3, 9.2 millimeter thick, making it the thinnest foldable phone on the market outside of China. And it goes for 1,999 euros, but probably will not come to the United States. Honor also announced the Book Art 14 laptop, which has a removable webcam. It attaches to the lid and pops in with some pogo pins, allowing the bezel to be only 2 millimeters thin.
Honor's Magic Pad 2 tablet is also getting the company's defocused incorporated multiple segments, or DIMS lenses directly into the screen. So DIMS lenses are supposed to slow down elongation in the eye for certain age groups, and in some cases can reverse or mitigate myopia and improve vision.
Yeah, it's doing what they do with glasses, but building it into the screen. They did this with the Magic Phone as well. And finally at IFA, this was one of the runaways in terms of buzz. Lenovo announced the Auto Twist AI PC concept with a motorized hinge that responds to voice commands. According to The Verge, it takes about 10 seconds to transform. It also does movement tracking, so the display can stay pointed at you as you move around. Now, this is just a concept at this point, no shipping date. Patrick, which of these many different display form factors catch your eye and then follow it around?
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to LG because, I get all DEF CON goofy excited about clothes with monitors in them that don't weigh 40 pounds and require a car battery. Go LG. But honestly,
I mean, this is promising in that sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, think of all the obscene things you can put on a high school kid's sweatshirt or a high school kid can put on their sweatshirt. No, I actually mean that in a positive way. It's kind of fun to see something like that. And the idea of a display that can stretch may sound silly, but I can think of an even number of locations where that could be really fun to experiment with. But honestly, the Honor's AI defocus stuff, as somebody who, started wearing glasses in their 40s, the idea of not having to, that moment where you're like, I have my phone, I cannot read it, I have to find my glasses, I've fallen out of the bed, the cat has just scratched me because I landed on the cat. Why was the cat sleeping there? I don't know. Where are my glasses?
My morning, every morning. Where are my glasses? I can't see.
Yeah, I now want to figure out where I can actually find an Honor phone so I can go look at that just to see if it.
Well, it's not going to make it so you can read it without your glasses. It's a therapeutic thing that's scientifically proven to work in a particular age range, and I don't think we're in it, unfortunately. But it helps. It basically tricks your eye into thinking it's looking far in the distance, which helps elongate the eye and combats myopia. And so you'd have to keep using it for a couple of weeks to see any kind of effect.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anybody let's call us all in the general age range. Myopia is an issue I have right now, very much so, because I'm farsighted, but I spend all day looking at something closer to me. So this... I don't know if this is going to solve my issues.
I don't know that scientifically they have found this helps in your age range. I think it works on younger folks.
Yeah, right.
Well, so your eyeball kind of hardens over time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
but part of the point here, though,
My
is that,
eyeballs do anyway.
well, it's kind of like loss of your treble hearing. It's part of being human. But the idea that if they can do this in a way that fewer people staring at monitors accelerates the onset, right?
Yep.
So you can do things
Because you're
that
not
slow
looking
that
away.
down.
Yeah.
It's like headphones that max out at 85 dB, which will probably max out at 80 dB in the future. It is helping you to do less damage to your body while you're young.
And supposedly it's just changing color focus. It's so you don't really notice it when you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it in person too, to see if you do notice it.
Yeah.
But Patrick, what about the Auto Twist AI PC?
I love Lenovo when they do stuff like this, and I will also point out that I've seen a number of projects like this actually ship, like go from being like, we made an exotic and wondrous thing to, oh my God, you can buy it. So I am actually, as somebody who's super frustrated because they have a camera and a monitor, and I spend a lot of time in Teams meetings, the idea of having it be able to track me is actually really compelling. Because I still refuse to do what I really need to do, which is to take a monitor, drill a hole in the middle of it, put a camera behind there, and then talk to people like this, So I dig the idea.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, folks, if you want to hear us talk about a particular exciting development that you've seen, submit it on our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Back in May, Sonos released a redesigned controller app for the iPhone and Android. However, that removed a number of features like the alarm and sleep timer, leading to complaints from all the users. Well, most of them anyway. Late last month, Sonos released an update to the app restoring some of the functionality. Pat, you've been following this story. Give us the quick update for those of us or those in the audience who haven't been keeping up. And then let's talk about some alternatives if you don't want to rely on the Sonos anymore.
Oh my goodness, so much drama, and it's really legit. Sonos is some of the most. I mean, look, I own a ton of Sonos products. Sarah owns a ton of Sonos products. I'm pretty sure Tom owns some Sonos products.
I do.
And we love them because they work and they do what they do, and they did it long before streaming audio existed, right? This was honestly an unforced error. Sonos pushed this software out for the launch of the Ace headphones and the Move 2, and suddenly, if you look at the Sonos app page, it's like your key to the ultimate listening experience. The app had massive issues. If it wasn't for some eagle-eyed beta testers, they would have lost a lot of their adaptability, or all of their adaptability. A lot of features that their user base rely on just disappeared. Boom. It wasn't like there was a slow transition. It was wham. If you're going to run Sonos, you're going to have to do this update. So, I mean, the Wirecutter, for example, has actually pulled the recommendation. I think it's Dennis Berger wrote this, quote, after careful consideration, we no longer recommend the Sonos multi-room audio platform as the best overall choice. If you're listening at 1.5x, I probably sound like a chipmunk on helium. Sonos recently rolled out a major update to the control app that had a ton of problems, leaving its customers with a much less intuitive experience. While the company is slowly addressing some of the major issues with the new app, this is not the first time Sonos has hurt customer trust through poorly executed changes.
Yeah.
The president of Sonos apologized, and they were so aware of the issues that they had created. They actually put, the app actually was like, hey, here's a link to an apology. I don't think I've ever really experienced something quite like that.
No, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
For those outside the Sonos, universe. The company was basically saying, we are so sorry that we upgraded your experience. It was obviously a very, very bad idea, and we are going to try to make your experience better. And everyone was like, just roll it back to the previous experience.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those things that they will teach in PR, in like communication schools and in PR classes or in PR firms, where it's going to be like, all right, let's do some gaming on a scenario here. And they will talk about this. And it's like
a case study. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to do a big ask me anything kind of, the response has been kind of tragic,
Okay, so that's the recap. That's the previously on.
This is what I talked about instead of football.
No, it's fine. And they did say they considered bringing back the old app, but they couldn't for technological reasons.
Right.
So if you're just done and you don't want to wait around for this to get fixed, what alternatives do people have?
Okay, first of all, here's the thought. If you stream using Spotify Connect or AirPlay or Bluetooth, you might not have really noticed, right? Because this is a very app-centric experience thing for a lot of people. The Sonos hardware is really good. Google Nest, I think, is Wirecutter's less expensive choice. Doesn't sound as good, but it works really well. Echo is just, it's emotionally frustrating. It's just difficult to use, right? And honestly, there's a reason why whole house streaming audio efforts from major consumer electronics manufacturers have just never taken off. And literally almost everyone has done a Sonos competitor because they want to share that market. They either have software that was never very good and is barely supported, or they lack support directly from the streaming services. So first of all, if you have an investment in Sonos for right now, try to ride it out, especially if you're streaming audio. See if Sonos sorts it. If your issue is that you have a large collection of streaming, if you have thousands of MP3s or FLAC files on a local service, take a look at Rune or Rune.apps, the website. It costs money, but it's amazing. If you're an audio geek and you want to get old school with boxy speakers, take a look at what the company Weem is doing. You can find their products up on Amazon and their websites, WIIMHOME.com. They're doing they're just delivering incredible performance for really reasonable costs. Like for under $300, you get essentially a little tiny integrated amplifier. It's like 120 watts into 4 ohms. It'll work with Spotify, iHeartRadio, Tidal, Amazon Music, Qobuz, Napster, Pandora, TuneIn, Deezer. I'm pretty sure I can stream to it from Rune. And you get a pair of speakers and you set up like, hey, it's 1986, but I've got streaming audio and a vastly better performing amplifier. Plus I've got streaming audio, right? When you're looking at this, man, this is a killed by Google kind of level of frustration that people are dealing with here. Honestly, though, if you're invested in Sonos, I would say ride it out, see if they pull the app together. I know that's not probably what a lot of people want to hear. There's a dedicated iPhone app that you can try that I haven't tested yet, so I'm not going to name it. If it works, I'll let everybody know, and Tom can tell you that. There's no sort of equivalent to that app for Android, and you still will need the Sonos app to do any of the configuration and updates and stuff. But as somebody who's looked at, there's Blue Sound, which is high quality, but I think their apps never been particularly good. Again, every consumer Sonos has so much loyalty and has had so much success because their stuff works. It does a good job, and the app really tied it together in a way.
I mean, my speakers are. I mean, I'm a Sonos faithful for sure. At the same time, I don't even really use Sonos software unless I have to. And it's not even really because I have a huge problem with it. It's because I have other options.
Yeah.
Right.
The more options I have, the better.
And honestly, if you're a Spotify, if you primarily consume music through Spotify and use the Spotify app, you're probably like, oh, there's a problem with the Sonos app, and that's actually not a bad place to be. If you are a dedicated Sonos user and you used all those little features in the app, you are probably frothing with rage. I was frothing with rage until I can't use that phrase on a family-friendly show like this. I was frothing with rage until about I don't know. I just remember it was about a month and a half, and they finally fixed enough things so that it wasn't like this super frustrating experience just to set up the audiobooks that my son likes.
Were you trying to say they unfutzed things?
Unfracked,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Something like
unfurled.
Unfurled, a new solution.
Yeah, I mean, I also will laugh, like just to, Tom's going to shut me down in a second, as well he should. They actually have a Trello you could access to see what the current software development plan is. Right? Have you ever heard of a? You know what I mean?
No, never.
If you have, tweet at patricknorton.com or at Patrick Norton on Twitter, because I want to read up about it. Because
how many Trello boards have been published publicly? Yeah.
Yeah, how many major companies in a this is kind of wild. So, there are alternatives. Like honestly, the Blue Sound stuff sounds fantastic, but it's expensive enough that it actually makes, in some cases, it makes Sonos seem approachable. If you're more DIY, I will say the stuff Weem is doing. I would love to see Weem do a standalone, Wi-Fi speaker system, because the engineering they're doing on these boxes that either connect your streaming audio to your existing old school stereo system, or the Weem amp, which has the built-in amplifier, like these are pretty fantastic. Like the quality you're getting for the price is something that just didn't exist a few years ago. So I'm excited about that.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for joining us. If folks want to find out more of what you got going on these days, where should they go?
I believe I'm Patrick Norton on Blue Sky. I'm Patrick Norton on Threads. I have to check that. Obviously, I'm not spending as much time on Threads as I should. I'm still Patrick Norton on Twitter, and AVXL is in the process of relaunching, and hopefully will be up and running in the immediate future.
If all of these frustrations make you just want to disconnect, then we have a top 5 for you. Our top 5 this week is 5 ways to disconnect. You can watch it at Daily Tech News Show on TikTok, DTNS Pics on Instagram, and of course, youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show. Patrons, stick around. The extended show is about to start. Good day, Internet. Time again for the great debates. Digital music is the death, or is it the renaissance of music listening? Would you pay to see a virtual artist in concert? Does social media influence what you eat? We will debate all that and more. Stick around.
Do you not want to miss that? But just a reminder, you can catch our show live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 2000 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We hope you all have a real good weekend. We're back on Monday covering Apple's It's Glow Time event with Mika Monfort and Terrence Gaines. Talk to you then.
This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show were created by the following people: host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt, host, producer, and writer Sarah Lane, executive producer and booker Roger Chang, producer, writer, and co-host Rob Dunwood, video producer Joe Kuntz, producer at large Anthony Lemos, Spanish language host, writer, and producer Dan Campos, science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans, social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding, our mods: Beatmaster W. Scottus1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, aka Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music and art provided by Martin Bell, Dan Looters, Mustafa A., Acast, and Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. Contributors for this week's shows included Scott Johnson, Ron Richards, and Patrick Norton. Our guest this week was Jen Briney, and thanks to all the patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.